Hello everybody, this is Zoe from No Safer Place. Now, it has been so long since I've filmed one of these videos that as I just tried to take a picture for the thumbnail, guys, I'm going to insert a picture here of one of the outtakes of my thumbnail, and I just feel like you guys will appreciate it. That's beautiful, isn't it? They just kept falling. I just have lost my ability to hold 20 books up in the air. I used to be able to hold like 30. Now I can't even hold 20, so I need to get back into my haul videos. But this actually isn't a haul video. This video is the books that I have read in July and just very short reviews of them. I haven't really been posting too many reviews on my blog at the moment either, so I thought this would be a really great video just to tie up everything that I've read in July, what I've been liking, what I haven't been liking, because I did read a fair few books in July. I've also been trying to read some books out of my comfort zone. If you guys have been following me for a while, you will know that I kind of stick to the YA genre and never really branch out, and I really wanted to change that this year. So at the start of July, I asked you guys what non-fiction books you've been enjoying. It's a genre I've always wanted to get into, but I've never found a book that I've clicked with. So I felt like if I asked my audience, who already know the kind of books that I like, maybe I could get some good suggestions, and you guys didn't disappoint. So let's get on with the video. So the first book is a non-fiction book. It is a very, very short book, but I absolutely loved it. It is The Little Black Book, a toolkit for working women. Now, I had heard so much about this. I'd seen quite a few bloggers and YouTubers and business owners talking about it, obviously in particular women, so I had to pick it up. And it's essentially just a little non-fiction book on how to get things done, overcoming things like creative block, how to build your brand. There's quite a few of those little sections which you can just dip your toe in and out of, whatever kind of section you want to read first. And there are a lot of great tips. So if you have a business or if you want to grow your blog or your YouTube, I would definitely recommend this, especially as I think it was only something like £3, and I definitely came away with some new tips with this one. So I would highly, highly recommend. Now, the next two books I will put together because they are both by the same author. It is an author that I just discovered this month. He had been following me on Twitter for a while, but I hadn't read his book, so when I asked for non-fiction suggestions, this was probably the top one that everyone was suggesting, and it is Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. Now, this is possibly one of my favourite books I've ever read. Not just in non-fiction, just in general. It is that good. I think if you're someone that deals with mental health, this book will be so important to you, and there will be so many moments in this book where you'll read it and think, wow, this is so relatable. This is Matt's journey on not really overcoming mental illness, because I don't think he ever will. I think he's much like me in regards to the fact that he will never truly overcome it, but his coping mechanisms, things that he does to help, how he learned to live again, and just making the most of the moments that you have left. And honestly, I sobbed throughout this book. It is amazing. And just as I'd finished this one, his new one, Notes on the Nervous Planet, came out, which again is very similar to the style of Reasons to Stay Alive, but this more focuses on looking at what's making you unhappy in life, looking at what makes you negative and trying to turn that around. Things that can make us feel overloaded, overwhelmed, and how we can change that and how we can cope with that. I have to say I much preferred Reasons to Stay Alive, but I did obviously really, really enjoy this one too. But if I had to choose one of the two, I would definitely say pick up this one first. Although this one at the moment on Amazon, I picked this up for £4 in a hardback, so you can't really go wrong. I'm sorry, but Liv and Rebecca have messaged me and I really want to know what they're saying. Okay, so the next one I've read this month is Heathers the Musical. Of course, if you didn't know, I went to see Heathers this month at the Other Palace. It was the best production I have ever seen on stage. It was completely mind-blowing. Would be good if you could focus, camera. As I said, it was completely mind-blowing. And this is just the playtext that I picked up at the theatre. If you don't know much about Heathers, I don't really want to spoil it, but it is so much more than just a school comedy. I mean, it is a comedy and it is in a school, but it gets very, very dark And honestly, I don't think I've laughed so much in all my life. It is seriously that good. As I say, I don't want to spoil Heathers too much, but it's just about to finish its time in the other palace, and then in September it's starting at the Haymarket Theatre, and I'm going to see it again because why the hell not? Now the next one is Rosie Loves Jack by Mel Darbin. This is a proof copy which I got sent by from Usborne. It says, "See the world through new eyes in this 1 in a million story about fighting for the freedoms that we often take for granted. Independence, tolerance and love." So this is about a girl called Rosie whose boyfriend gets taken away, and I don't want to spoil too much there, but he's been taken somewhere. And Rosie is a girl that has Down syndrome. She is very heavily cared for, but she doesn't feel like she needs to be. So when he gets taken away and Rosie's family won't let her go and see him, she tries to take the matters into her own hands, and she goes off to London on her own and starts exploring things and sees if she can find her way back to Jack. Now, when I first heard the premise of this story, I didn't realise how dark it would get. I kind of thought it would be a light-hearted kind of comedy book, but it couldn't be anything further than that. She gets into some really bad crowds. All of her things get taken. She gets taken into a house which really isn't the best place to be. No spoilers. And honestly, by the end, I was in absolute bits. I think this is such a great diverse read, and it was just not what I was expecting at all. So if you're looking for a book that is going to break your heart into a million little pieces this summer, pick up Rosie Loves Jack. Next one, guys, I've spoke about so much on my channel already. I feel like since I've been back from my hiatus, I've not shut up about this book, and it is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. I feel like you guys are going to be sick to death of me talking about this, but as I said in my previous videos, it is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Under very unlikely circumstances, teenage Harper gets taken to Emberfall accidentally, and she is introduced to Prince Wen, who is desperately trying to break the curse on his kingdom. And just like Beauty and the Beast, he has to get a girl to fall in love with him. But that is kind of where the comparisons stop, because this book is extremely dark. I feel like there's a theme to this once reads, that they're all just very, very dark. There is a lot of violence in this book. There is a lot of fantasy in this book, a lot of intrigue, a lot of excitement. It is so atmospheric. Honestly, this is probably the best book I've read this year. As I said before, it's shot up into my top 5 books of all time. It was completely unputdownable, and I just can't wait for the next one, so thank you, Brigid. The next book I was on the blog tour for, which I did do a full review of, so I will leave that in the description box below in case you want to check that out or want to know more about the book. It is Theatrical by Maggie Harcourt. Hope doesn't like being in the spotlight. She much prefers being backstage, and it has always been her dream to work backstage in a theatre production. So when the opportunity arises to be an intern at one of the most prestigious theatres, she is so excited, doesn't expect to ever get the position, but she goes for it anyway. She is so shocked to find out that she actually got the role, but because her mum is a famous fashion designer, she doesn't want people to think she only got there for that reason. So she hides everything that's happening from her mum, and she also hides everything that's happening from her new colleagues. And she gets kind of caught up in this web of lies, and it all gets a bit much for her. She doesn't know if she's fit for this job now. She doesn't know if she'll be good enough. And it's just kind of her discovery, really, her journey on finding if theatre and being backstage is the place for her. And I think as a teenager, it does take you a while to find out these things, and this book depicts it so well. And obviously you get to know more about theatre, especially backstage, which I absolutely love because I'm a massive theatre goer but don't really know too much about what happens behind the scenes, so I found this book really, really interesting. So if you like theatre, this is the book for you. The next one, guys, is possibly my biggest disappointment of this year. It is The Island by M.A. Bennett. Now, I absolutely adored her first book, Stags. It was incredible, one of my favourite reads of last year. So when I saw that this book was about to come out and it was a Lord of the Flies retelling, I was so excited to read it. Now, usually with a book this size, I can finish it in a few hours if I really like it and I really get into the story. This book took me a few days to read, which obviously for some people isn't a long time, but for me, when I enjoy a book, it is. I just really couldn't connect to the story. For the first kind of 2/3 of the book, it was boring as hell, I'll be honest. Essentially, there is a plane crash on an island. Only 7 of them survive, and the story is them finding out how to survive on this island, who takes control. And the reason I had problems with it was the main guy who we see the story from is called Link, and he was a real nerd at school. He got picked on, he was really bullied. But when he's on the island, he is the kind of one that knows everything and is just like the source of all knowledge, so everyone comes to him and the tables kind of turn because now they need him, so they're not treating him like crap anymore, essentially. And the power kind of goes to his head and things just get very dark. He is a really unlikable character. I think he's possibly one of my most hated characters. He's just disgusting. But I don't know, maybe he does depict a teenage boy. I don't really have that many boys in my family, so maybe they would all be like this if they were on an island. When I read the first 2/3 of the book, it was maybe a 4 out of 10, but the last third of the book brought it up to about a 7, because the last third, if the first bits had been like that, I would have been utterly obsessed, because the twists at the end and everything that we uncovered was really good. So yeah, if you're thinking this book is going to be like Stags, don't go in with those expectations, because it's not. But I do love my classic retellings, so I had to give it a go. The next one is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. Can we appreciate this beautiful cover, because I am just in love with it. Let me just say that this book is filled with probably one of my most unexpected twists. I'm not sure why, but I never really class Adam Silvera as a kind of shocking author. But when I read this and got to the end, I was like, I was not expecting that. It's essentially about a boy called Aaron who seems really happy. He is with his girlfriend, everything's going swimmingly. And then Thomas comes onto the scene and they spend more time together. His girlfriend Genevieve goes away for a few weeks and Thomas and Aaron get even closer, and Aaron starts to question his sexuality, and these thoughts keep coming in. He doesn't know how to stop them. He's worrying so much. He feels like he needs to carry on loving Genevieve because that's the way it's supposed to be. All whilst this is going on, there is a company called the Letio Institute where you can go and essentially have any bad memories erased if you don't want them anymore, if they're hurting too much. Obviously you have to have a lot of tests before this can go ahead, but this is the thing that happens now, and we start to realise that it isn't quite as effective as it seems, and that is all I shall say on that. The next one is The Year of Living Awkwardly by Emma Chastain. Now again, I did do a blog tour for review on this, so I'm not going to say too much about it, but it is very Louise Renison-esque. If you're looking for books like hers, I would definitely choose this one. This is the sequel, so make sure you go and read the other one first. Although I read this one first and I still enjoyed it just as much. It is full of laughs, awkward moments. It really takes you back to being a teen and just how uncomfortable some moments were, and how much emphasis you put on smaller events that are going on in your life rather than massive events. For example, her mum and dad are going through a divorce, but she is more focused on the awkward moment that is happening with a guy she likes. I feel like as a once teen, that is really relatable. The next one is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. Guys, I don't think I've ever loved a character as much as I love Arthur. It is about two gay guys that meet each other unexpectedly in a post office. They're both at very different parts of their lives. One of them is doing really well. He is about to get into a top university. He is really smart, really intelligent, and the other guy is just staying back for summer school. He doesn't really feel motivated, he doesn't know what he wants to do, and then their paths collide in this post office and just everything changes for them. One of them is openly gay and is happy to tell people. The other is still in the early stages of coming out, but they just know that something's there when they meet. So they both do quite a lot of things to try and make sure their paths connect again. And obviously in New York City, that is pretty damn hard. But somehow they do it and they come together. and they keep trying. They go on several dates, but it just doesn't seem to be working. Something is missing, and it's their journey really on finding out if they're suitable for each other, if they really are compatible, and just how sometimes life can get in the way of what you want. But still, even after all that, it really remains a positive, uplifting book, which I was not expecting. And honestly, if I could choose a male version of myself, it would definitely be Arthur. He is awkward, he is shy, he is uncomfortable, he is a massive nerd, but he's just so lovely. At least I hope that's me. Okay, the next one I was so excited for. It is Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. Now, I wasn't going to read this book until near Halloween so I could do a full review on it, but look at this cover. How could I stop myself? Essentially, the first part of the book is the original Hocus Pocus. Nothing really different there. There has a lot of beautiful illustrations in there though. And then the second part is 25 years later, and Max and Allison have had a child, and it's just wonderful. I don't really want to spoil too much because I feel like if you're a Hocus Pocus fan, you need to discover this for yourself. It is amazing. The next one is another non-fiction book that was recommended to me by Will Hill. Now, you guys know how much I love him, so when he recommended this, I knew I had to read it because it was sure to be amazing. It is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. If you like books about serial killers and rapists and like to know the ins and outs of stories, this is the book for you. It is basically about a woman that has just become obsessed with the Golden State Killer, and she's kind of pieced this case together herself over the years and discovered so much information. And honestly, I cannot believe that one woman on her own has done this. It is absolutely mind-blowing. So I don't want to say too much more about that because I feel like I could spoil it if I say things. But if you like serial killer books, this is the one for you. And the last book I read this month was The President is Missing with Bill Clinton and James Patterson. James Patterson is one of my favourite authors of all time. He was one of the first authors I read as a child. I know, strange choice. I think that's why I'm a bit obsessed with serial killers and things now, because the Alex Cross series was my favourite from a very, very young age. So this book is completely different from any of his other books. I've seen quite a few disappointed fans of James Patterson with this one, but I can understand that if you only like that one particular kind of killer genre, this isn't the book for you, because this is completely different. It's very politics heavy. It's quite hard to keep up with compared to his other books, because his other books are really, really easy and free flowing, and this isn't. You really need to concentrate on what's going on and where the president is, where everyone else is, what's happening here, what's happening there, that kind of thing, because it all kind of ties together at the end. But honestly, I loved this book. I loved finding out more about what being a president is like, especially from a president firsthand, and just knowing that this kind of stuff actually happens and we just don't know about it is so exciting. But yeah, I definitely would recommend this one. That was an extremely long video. If you guys like long videos, please let me know, because sometimes I feel like I ramble too much and I'm not sure if anyone would watch them. But then I feel like if they're shorter, is that really enough information on the books? So please let me know in the comments below if you've made it this far. And let me know what books you've been enjoying this month, because I would love to know any recommendations you have for me. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see more of on my channel, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.